In this lesson, we're going to be setting up the variables and the values that we're going to be using in the upcoming lessons in order to run the game. So we do need to set some default variables. So setting up the values, and these are the values of the particular options that are going to be hidden within the cases. So you can make up your own array, and I'm just going to create a random one, add in around 16 different values. And we're also going to make this game very dynamic and flexible. So even if we want to remove or if we want to add in additional values, that's going to be as well possible. So that's all of the different values that we have available to us. And then also setting up a few objects as well to contain some of the page objects. And I usually find that this is useful, so I set these up as global objects that I can access and use throughout the game. So this is going to contain all of the page content, the main page object content. Another global object that's going to be called game. So this is where we can add in all of the main game content that we're going to go. So this is our main game object that we're going to utilize. So the page object is going to be related to the elements on the page. The game object is going to be related to the game objects. There is one function that I did want to introduce, and because we do need to have the values sorted numerically, and if you take this values, and I'll log out instead of console log ready, we'll log out the values, and then we'll do a values sort. So this is basic JavaScript array function, and then also do the console log vals, and we'll output that. So what do you think is going to happen here when we do a sort? And if you said that it's going to do the 1, 10, 100, you're correct. So even though these are numbers within the array, it treats them as strings. So a lot of these array functions are string based. So it converts the items within the array to a string, and then it does the sort. And that's why you're getting the 1s, the 2s, the 3s, the 4s, the 5s, the 6s, and so on. So that's why you're getting that type of sort. So this is actually not what we want, and I want to have a default sort of those values happening initially when we load the values, so that in case we do have some of the numbers that they're off, as we're going to be building the game, we're going to be iterating through those numbers, and we do need to have them sorted numerically, with the first one being the first one in the array, and then the largest number being the last one, having the largest index in the array. We can take the vals array and then do a sort, use the sort function, but we're going to pass in some parameters into the sort function. And this is a really neat trick with this function, where when we're sorting through that, we're setting the parameters on how we want to return it. So we're returning the values of A and B that are being passed in. We're subtracting A from B. So going into the Mozilla Developer Network, so you have the sort, sorts the array in place and returns back the sorted values. So we already saw this, that it's able to sort it, and it sorts it within a string format. So we saw that we've got the 1, 100,000, 21, 30. So you can also pass in and do a compare function within the array. So you can pass in the first element and the second element. So that's what we do. And what the prototype does is when we pass in the parameters, it does the comparison. There's more information about how that comparison works. And so when we compare numbers, and instead of strings, they compare the function, it can simply subtract B from A. And this means that the following will sort the array in ascending order. And if we want to do it in descending order, we just do B from A, and that's going to do the descending order. So we're able to update the orders by simply updating which one we're subtracting from where. And there's more information available, and there's also the shorter format with the arrow expressions as well that can be done. So this is a way around that, and a way to get it back to looking at the numbers instead of looking at the string values. And as you can see, that now our array is sorted properly and as expected. Also, let's load some additional parameters. So now that we've got our game object, we can use that and set up the offers. So this is at what point in the game we want to have offers showing up. And these are again going to be added in. So when there's 14 left, when there's 4 left, and we're trying to make this game as dynamic as possible. Add another method in at the end here, which is going to be a filter. So it's going to create a new array of all the elements and that pass the test. And the test is that we want to make sure that we're opening up the cases, and when we have cases left. So we've got this many cases as we've got within the vals, And we know that if we've got less than the val's length, then we're going to run out of cases. So there's no point to have an offer at case 100 if we don't even have 100 cases. So we want to make sure that we filter out that and we don't throw any errors. So I'll leave that 100 in there, so just so you can see what I mean. And the whole objective here, again, is to be as dynamic as possible with the game parameters. So we can update the number of values, we can update the order of the values that are being presented with the sort function. And this one is creating the game offers array, but it's basing it on how many values we've got left and how many values we have available. So similar to what we just did with the sort, we're going to do a return, and we're returning back the value of x only if it matches the parameter, and that's looking at and making sure that it's less than the value of val's length. And then one last one where similar to what we just did, so taking those game offers and I want to sort them, and because these are numbers, we have to pass in the parameters into sort function in order to be able to compare depending on the values. And I want to actually order it. So in this one, we started with the smallest number going to the largest, and I want to reverse sort that. So do you know how to do that? Instead of doing a return a plus b, so let me show you what's going to be output. If we do a return a plus b, and I'll copy the offers into the console, so you can see the update take place. So this is the offers, so starting at 1, 2, 4, 12, and 14, but we are going to be starting at, we need to have 14 first, because we're starting out at, as we remove cases, the number is going to go down, and we want to be able to match at a particular point throughout the game that this is when we want to send an offer through. So that's where we need to reverse this, and instead of a minus b, the comparison is going to be b minus a. And when I do that, the order of the array changes, and we've got the largest number first going down until it reaches the smallest number. And also notice as well that the 100 got removed from that offers array because we don't have 100 cases. Well, that if we have 16, what's going to get removed, but then if I add in another number here, then it's going to automatically add that offer in at number 16. The offers loaded, so these are when the offers are going to be presented to the player. And this is going to be fully dynamic now because it's going to be dependent on how many values are within the vals array. And we've got all of the game parameters ready to go, so this is all we need. So now that we've set up all of the initial game parameters that we need in order to run the game, and then of course these are dynamic now, so they can be updated, and as they're updated, they're going to change how the game is played and how we load the content of the game. And you can use whatever values we want within the vals array, as well as the game offers array. Now that it's fully dynamic, it will update itself and fully function within the gameplay. And in this lesson, it was really about the sorting of the arrays, that we can pass in parameters in order to do a compare function in the array. And there's more information about it at the Mozilla Developer Network within the array prototype sort method. And it's going to give you more information as well as some really cool examples to find out more about how this works. So once you've set up your base game starting values, you're going to be ready to move on to the next lesson. We're going to apply some styling. So let's make this look nice, working on the different modals, working on the game screen so that we can be ready to do the communication in JavaScript to the player. So that's to come in the next lesson.